Before we get going, I just wanted to introduce Chris, and who's an A&M graduate, Chris and Amy Fanning, and their son, Corbin, who's 8, and sister Amanda. And you'll see this weekend a lot of coaches, including myself, wearing a patch. It's a Coach for Cure patch for to cure MD. Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and it's something that we've been involved in. I've been involved in as a head coach for a long time, ever since I became a head coach. And you'll see a number of coaches across the country this weekend with a patch on their sleeve to raise awareness. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew what that was about, what the patch is about, because some people won't know. They'll just see coaches with that on. But it's something that the AFCA is very, very involved in, and so are we here. So just wanted to say hi. And
Thank you.
thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. He's a little shy, but as a dad, and as we talked about, I've got an 8-year-old too, like Corbin. So we're extremely proud to be involved in this, and as I said, it's something that we have deep feelings about, and just want to make sure everybody knew what those patches we were wearing, what they were for.
And the family will be back Saturday for the ball game. We're getting that worked out so Corbin can come down for the ball game.
All right.
All right.
Okay. No, you're welcome.
Yes,
Thanks a lot.
indeed.
Good to see you, my man. All right. You bet.
No trouble. Y'all make yourself at home back there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can ask some tough questions, Corbin, if you want.
Yeah, Corey, you can stay up here for the next 15 minutes if you'd like. What do you got?
Questions?
Hey, Kevin, when did y'all decide to do a running clock Saturday?
I didn't decide anything.
Oh, how did it come about then?
I don't know.
I believe it was the SEC officials, and the SEC clock operator is on the sideline in communication with the officials.
Okay. Thank you for
You'd be
our deadline.
surprised, just like I said last week, I don't make decisions on everything that go on here. So sometimes I find out things too.
I figure they might ask a coach that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
Would Christian Michael's performance against Arkansas last year be something that you'd look back at and have any kind of thing you'd factor?
I haven't
into your
really
game
looked
plan?
at anything from last year.
You didn't know that he had 230
Yeah.
against Arkansas last year?
Yeah, I knew that. But that has no bearing on this game this year. So we've approached every game this year that way. This game is no different.
You did say earlier, I guess it was maybe in camp, that you saw how tough Christian was because of what you saw him do against Arkansas. So would that be a factor, or, I mean, in terms of, his toughness or what he did against Arkansas, because you did cite that during camp in terms of...
I don't think that that's going to have any factor in playing this year's game. Just like it wasn't a factor in playing against Florida.
Is the thing he primarily needs to work on from here on out is his blocking in this offensive scheme? Would that be accurate?
I don't know that I would single him out above anybody and things that he needs to work on. I think everybody needs to work on things. I think because he hasn't played, he's been singled out. And, the discussion has been why he has not played. He hasn't played not because of performance issues. I think that's a misconception. He had 16 carries in the first game, which was twice as many as any other running back that we had when you play 3. So I think people are drawing more into it than what it is. The performance issue was not the issue. He was suspended for a game.
Because he is that big, powerful back, how much do you need him the rest of the way with SEC play really starting?
We've got 3 good backs, and it's kind of interesting to me because I've said from day one of 2-a-days that all 3 of them were going to play. So in my estimation, for 2 reasons. Number one, Christian hasn't made it through a full season in the last 3 years. So he needs the other three backs to play. We need it from a team standpoint because of his injury issues in the past and the development of the other backs. It's not like the other two guys can't play. They're excellent players too. So, I think the line of questioning is headed down the wrong road when it is in regards to performance. It's hard for you to perform if you're not at the game.
So it'd be fair to ask, what do you expect out of him then? I mean,
I expect the same thing out of him as the other players, that when they have the opportunity to play, that they play as well as they can.
Does Molina start this week?
Excuse me?
Does Molina start this
He
week?
started last week. He'll start this week.
Now, was it still a suspension issue that Christian didn't get in until the third quarter?
No, he was the third back.
But I mean, okay, so that's just the way it
The
was
first
gonna
two backs played the first half.
be. Okay.
Are there
And
any lingering non-performance issues affecting him at this point?
No.
How proud are you of Ben and the way he's performed?
Ben's,
stepping up?
I think you can go back, since everybody's picking on what I said previously. I think you can go back and see that I said that in the spring about Ben. So I'm surprised that anybody would be shocked that Ben's starting.
Where are you on Trey Williams while we're talking running backs?
He's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
I saw you put your arm around him during the game. What are some of the things you're talking
Well,
about?
I was just talking to him about not trying to hit home runs and trying to get first downs. And, I think the big transition, as I said a week ago, is how he you go from high school football to college football and the number of carries that you're going to get in a game. If you're carrying the ball 20-some times, and you're going to take those types of chances because the next one could be a home run. We've got to get a first down and know the difference on third down and when to stick your nose in there and get us a first down and then be able to follow it up instead of trying to hit a home run all the time. And so he's feeling that out, but that'll come with him, an adjustment to game speed. But I've been happy with his progress in protection. He's gotten better. He's probably as a freshman. It's the hardest thing is to learn protections, and then being, his size being big enough to handle it. But he's a tough guy. He understands it. If he's upset when he dropped the kickoff because he still got 30 yards on a return. He probably would have scored because he's late hitting it. But those are the things that he's working on. And like I said, we've got three good backs, and they're all going to play. And we need them all season.
When you look at Niall Davis and Wilson and Hamilton, how dangerous an offensive team is Arkansas?
There's a reason why they were preseason number 8. Yeah, they've got a lot of great skill. Big offensive line, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Statistically and as a player, Kobe Hamilton, put 300 on the board last week, so he can play. And Niles Davis, going back to 2 years ago, before the injury, is as good a running back as there is. So they've got weapons offensively. They've got a big athletic defensive line that can get after you. Lonzo Highsmith's played a lot of football there as an anchor in the middle. So, there's, like I said, there's a reason why, it wasn't just one or two people picked them early in the year. They've got some talented guys, and, I think anytime you lose a quarterback of that caliber for a game and a half or whatever, that can throw you off a little bit. And so, they're coming in here. They got a lot to prove. And the old deal, a wounded animal is maybe the most dangerous one. I think it applies in this case. But, we got a lot to play for, too. This is our second SEC game, and we're at home. And after our first one and losing a close one, I think our guys are excited to get back on the field and play somebody in our league.
Coach, how much would it mean to get that first SEC win?
It would mean that we got a first SEC win because we got a bunch of SEC games. So, that's what that means.
Because of Wilson's experience, is this the biggest test so far for that secondary?
Probably. I mean,
Florida.
you mean compared to, Driscoll played very well. I think people are finding out that Driscoll's a pretty good quarterback. And you enter into a game against SMU, against June Jones, knowing that what's going to happen. So I thought our defense played very well. Obviously, one of the lowest outputs June's ever had against SMU. So probably would be the right way to answer the question, because going into SMU, you would say that would be the case.
Well, how pleased are you with their progress tackling in space from the Florida game to right now?
I think we've gotten better on the perimeter, just by numbers alone. But, the speed of this game is going to pick up dramatically from the last week. SMU's got some fast guys. Our tackling against Florida was not as good on the perimeter as it needed to be. I think we went from 11 out of the secondary missed tackles to 5 against SMU, which was a significant drop. And this league is a different league in the fact that when the formations get reduced, your corners have to make tackles, and they can't just be cover guys. So, the physical nature of the secondary becomes a real factor. And so, it's something we've been working on, and that's kind of a transition from really the way the secondary was when we got here.
Kevin, John, on your rushing attack, Johnny's averaging about 13 carries a game, playing obviously not as much against SMU or South Carolina State. How many of those were called runs?
Probably half of them.
Half of them. And so, are y'all doing any kind of zone read, or is that those mainly draws that are called?
Do you want me to give the game plan to Arkansas?
No.
I'm serious.
On film. Yeah, sure, if you want to.
Yeah, well, we haven't run any yet.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question.
How many times are y'all going empty too? I've noticed a little bit. He likes to run out of that. Is that too much scouting report?
I don't know. I didn't bring all my hit chart numbers with me.
How comfortable are you with him carrying that much on his own?
You're looking at 13 plays a game is kind of significant, and if you're getting 80 plays, then that doesn't sound like so much, but just his nature of doing things, somewhere in I think every quarterback, if you look at statistically over what we've done over the course of past years, has been somewhere between at least 5 to 10 a game. I mean, it's just the nature of the game. So I don't think that's outrageous.
When
Some
y'all
of
do
those
watch
automatic.
the tape, when y'all do watch the tape of him, or sometimes y'all just shake your head in amazement at the way, I know you see it in practice every day, but just the way he moves his feet and can elude tacklers.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think as a coach you watch it a little bit differently because you're critical of everything, and trying to get him to understand the big picture and where guys are coming from when he escapes, what you saw last, and remember where you saw it, and the ability to keep your eyes downfield. So, it's different for you because you're on the sideline and you see it live, and so we don't take anything for granted, but there's a lot of things that go on during the game that you watch and you just say, yeah, that's a good play, and from our angle, a lot of times you can't see it. You can't see a whole bunch of the intricacies that happen and making people miss until you see it later on video.
Does he have some automatic calls where if he notices the DBs or the linebackers are dropping back, that he can automatically check into a run. Sorry. Well, I mean, look on film.
You can look on film.
Okay.
Are you're John L. sent you today, huh?
State Alabama, yeah.
How does Johnny handle critiques? Just being a young guy now that's had some success, but when you guys break things.
He doesn't have much choice if he wants to play.
Does he respond?
Yeah, I think so. I think he does. I think he's, it's like anything else. Human nature is when you're in a pressure situation or things get a little hairy around you, you go back to what you know. And he's been that guy that's been able to run around and do some things, and so the transformation to that and being able to be a complete quarterback are challenges that every quarterback that comes into any system in the collegiate level has challenges. Whether you can't move, whether your progression is different, whether your size is an issue, whether all those things. And so the faster as a quarterback you understand your limitations and you start to develop and work at your limitations and not your strengths, the quicker that your development happens. And that's been, since I've been doing this. So everybody comes in, from Drew Bledsoe to Johnny. You get a guy comes in who's 6'6", 230. He's a different guy. And what he's got to understand is his mobility is an issue, so he's got to work his way through that and be able to deal with that. So that's part of growing as a quarterback, and it's hard to do that in a month.
Coach, you've had a lot of entrances that you've made in the stadiums. How does the one in Kyle Field rank when you guys come in through the fog and through the crowd underneath the stadium?
Well, I think it's good. Players love it, and I think the fans like it. We get a lot of compliments. I get a lot of emails, very positive emails about the entrance, particularly the walk where there's kids and there's fans and they're close to the players and able to see them again, and instead of just the spirit walk, but now they're in uniform. I think it has blended a lot of things that are important. When we meet up with the drums and the corps and the boot line, and I just talked to the commandant this morning and just about the whole how everybody's engaged in the entrance, and it's not just about the football team. It's about our student body, and there's representatives between the walk underneath the stadium, between the drummers, between the corps, we're not there to be a part of the flyover or any of that other stuff that happens before the game. That's excitement building. That's probably the most exciting part of the deal for our players, and I think the energy that's created from that is important.
You get your blood pumping?
Yeah, it's particularly the first time when I almost got run over. So I didn't do that the next time. That's okay. They can run out there. That smoke, you can't see it a lot when you start running through there. So it's. But our players enjoy it, and I think that's important. I think the fans enjoy it too.
You mentioned Coach Smith earlier. Do you have any kind of prior relationship with
Sure.
him? And is it pretty
John
good
L.
deal?
Yeah, it's tough. He's a guy that I started coaching at Washington State. He was at Washington State with Dennis Erickson before I got there, and then he was at Idaho, which he lived in Pullman, right there 8 miles away. So I've known him for a long time. And it's a situation where he wants to win this game in the worst way. And as a head coach, as any coach, that's going through a situation as he's gone through and then loses starting quarterback, get him back. They're coming in here with a lot of pride and like I said, I think they feel like, just in reading and listening to their team talk, that they've got a lot to prove. And like I said, also, I think we do too.
Coach, you'll always find some mistakes on game film. How much does the margin for error kind of shrink when you go against SEC opponents?
It'll shrink dramatically from last weekend, and we understand that. All you got to do is go back to our first game and look at it. And you know, since we've only played one, that's the only thing we have to go on. And you know, I think that, you know, there's a lot of things that our team has taken from that first game that, yeah, we're disappointed in how, in the outcome. But I think our team, particularly some of our younger guys, have drawn a lot of confidence from that game, knowing that Florida's a pretty good team. And the Julian Obiohas of the world, and to a certain extent, Johnny, Trey, a bunch of these young guys that played in this game, you know, I think looking back on it now, they're probably more confident than they were before we played the game, knowing that, as we said, we hadn't been on the field. And there's probably some guys that, not probably, I know there's some guys that are looking forward to this Saturday to getting back and playing another conference game.
But besides confidence, what are some of the things that they learned from that first game, you know, about SEC opponents that they took from that game?
I don't know. I think the things that were concerning before the game was the physical nature of the game. I thought we handled that very well. Took care of the football, and I think, you know, the margin of error that comes from tackling, the speed of the game, those types of things cannot be duplicated in practice and can't be duplicated against a lot of opponents. And so, you know, that the adjustment to the speed of the game, it would probably be the biggest difference.
To change on Dustin Harris, he had that almost broke the NCAA record. AC was looking it up for us. But how important is it to have a good special teams returner when you're playing in the SEC? I mean, is that just?
I think it's important when you're playing anywhere.
But,
in any league, you know, we've tried to do that. You know, I think it's just as important, as I said 2 weeks ago, that the other 10 guys that are out there understand the importance of it. The first week we didn't. We've got more production out of a number of guys that have gone out there that did not play a significant role against Florida, particularly wide receivers, Nate Askew, and just a bunch of different guys, the Kendrick, Williams, just guys that are on that return team that now understand that it's important. And when you've got a guy like Dustin, who led the country last year in a quiet way, and a guy like Trey Williams back there, you know, your team has to understand the importance, and that comes with not being selfish. You know, it's easy to play with the ball in your hand, particularly if you're a wide receiver. It's not real easy to play without it. But as you start to understand in the big picture when we're trying to win games, what your role is, if you're not contributing significantly on every offensive snap, if we're not throwing the ball, how are you going to help us win? And we've had a number of guys that have bought into that, and I think the improvement against SMU was evident because there was more yards on the field and punt returns against SMU, and Dustin didn't believe it until he watched the video. Once he understood, okay, I got some guys out here actually working and blocking now, that whole attitude changes. So, you know, there's more to it than just the returner. The returner is important, but also guys understanding that they have a significant role with the returner.
now, kickoff returns with the new rule that you get it touchbacks, get it at the 25. Are y'all hesitant, or do you to tell Trey, you know, we're going to get it at the 25?
Not if he goes to the 30 like he did last week. You know, we're going to take some chances with him. I mean, that's just part of it. And there's different philosophies out there right now. You've got some coaches that will sky kick and try to bring the ball down at, you know, inside the 5 and cover it and see if they can get you tackled inside the 25, which is a positive play for them. You got us who kick it out whenever we can to start the game at the 25. So, you know, there's a lot of different things going on from a scheme standpoint. We feel comfortable. I think you see easy. You know, Trey's job is to catch the football and not worry about where he is. Everybody wants to know that's real smart. Easy's coached to go back there and tell him to stop or not, and based on where he is in the end zone, and that's worked out pretty well for us. I think Easy's done a great job with that too.
How does the Shazer Everett's move to safety change sort of the dynamic of the combination you guys are running?
I don't think it's changed anything. I think he can move back and forth. I think what we've developed now is a swing guy, and develop depth. So he's got the ability to swing safety, play corner. He can do both, and it gives him a feeling, gives us a different look in the back end. For where we're not necessarily locked into these guys are playing corner, these guys are being safety, and I think it gives our team more flexibility at this point than we had previously.
Are you guys still trying to find the best combinations back there?
I don't know if it's the best combination. I think it's who you play. You play different opponents. You're playing a team that can get after you down the field a little bit. This week, I think your corners become extremely important. You're playing some teams that are more run-oriented, and now your corners are less cover guys than they are physical guys, as I talked about earlier, with people trying to make them tackle. So I think what DeShazer has given us is a flexibility to play both positions, being a physical corner and playing safety and then still playing corner. So, the more of those types of interchangeable parts that you have in the second level of your defense, and linebacker or in the secondary, the more flexible you are as a team without substituting. Does that make sense? And I think it helps us down the road.
There was a study released today about the economic impact on Brazos County if A&M football games were to move away for a season or two. Do you pay attention to that stuff, or is it just one of those things where you play the schedule they put in front of you and just kind of steer clear?
Not right now. We don't pay attention to them. I think as things get closer, and I'll probably be in the loop a little bit more. But right now in the middle of the season, I don't really pay too much attention to that. I think, as I said, as things get closer to a decision being made and everything else with the stadium, obviously that you start paying attention to it because it affects recruiting, affects everything. So, but not right now.
Coach, you did weigh in right with Populous. They asked you guys to just voice maybe a wish list or some things you wanted in the new project for Kyle Field. Could you share some of what those were?
As loud as possible. to whatever that if possible, to make Kyle feel louder, whatever we could do acoustically, whether it was drop the field or bring the fans closer. That's all I ask for. Just make it to make the impossible possible, to make Kyle feel louder than it already is, and it's kind of interesting. They looked at me and they just kind of nodded their head because they can do that. So that's about all I told them.
Kevin, as a coach, any thoughts on last night's Monday night game?
I didn't see that. I was on the radio this morning and somebody asked me. I did not even see that. I've heard about it, but this early in the week preparation, we spend a lot of our time Sunday and Monday night with game plan stuff because we don't practice on Sunday. So, and we're not in pads on Monday. Today's really Tuesday, Wednesday are big padded prep days. So I didn't get a chance to see it. I've heard about it, and I haven't even seen the replay. So it must have been pretty bad, I guess.